Hello everyone and welcome to Unacademy. This session that I'm taking is how to curate diagrams and flowcharts to enrich your answers in mains. I feel that certain diagrams and flowcharts which are very obvious, if added to your answers, will fetch you more marks. Otherwise, I was not a diagram and a flowchart heavy person. I still got a written score of 888 in the written examination for the simpler reasons that I wrote, my approach was very content heavy. So, let's see in this session how to develop and how to curate diagrams and flowcharts. But before that, I also want to tell you guys that I'm teaching on Unacademy Plus. I'm dealing with Public Administration Paper 2. Specifically to clear certain concepts and to teach you guys how to link paper 1 and paper 2, and also to cite certain examples and case studies that will actually help in really enriching your content for the answers. I teach with other brilliant educators like Mrinal sir, who's been we've been watching his videos on economics and geography since the longest time, so you can also access such courses in the Plus dashboard. The entire fee to access my course and other courses on Plus for 1 year is 35,000 rupees. And if you use a referral code, which is the spelling of my name in caps, you will get a rebate of 10%. So you guys can use it if you want to. Now let's start with this video. Why is it that I came up with this video? Why is it that flowcharts and diagrams are even mentioned for mains answer writing? The first is, apart from the content, presentation of an answer is important to fetch you more marks. So what can fetch you? Literally a good content can fetch you, let's say 5 on 10 or 6 on 10. Whereas if you use a diagram or you use a flowchart, the score can also increase to 7. I again reiterate, I'm not a very diagram and flowchart heavy person because it never happened impromptu for me. But I do feel that wherever I got a chance, wherever it was very obvious, I did use them. Flowcharts say more in less words, so you also save time. Right? If I have to draw an entire process of insolvency and bankruptcy, rather than writing it, it will actually save me time and also look good. The presentation would improve. Explaining cyclic concepts, linear flow concepts in a better manner. That is something which is very important because anything that is cyclic, causal, cause and effect, if you explain it through a flowchart and a diagram, again it can fetch you more marks. It reflects the in-depth understanding of an answer and of a concept. Again, I keep on saying this, that to really fetch marks in mains, you need to tell the examiner that, look, I know a lot. You might or might not know, but you really tell them that, look, I've thought so much in depth, and all that you've done is just practice before. It adds to the glam of the answer. I had to use this word because I think the answers that actually use flowcharts and diagrams look a little fancier. So flowcharts and diagrams, there are certain basic questions that arise when you talk about this. The first is, should they be complex? You know, I have seen certain students draw flowcharts like they'll write something, then they'll write something, then they'll again write something, then they'll again connect this to this, and then they'll connect this to something. No. In my opinion, it's impossible for me to draw something like that. I do not do such things. Very, very basic timeline based. So this leads to this, leads to that. Or it's cyclic, this leads to that, and that leads again to this. These are the kind of flowcharts and diagrams that I actually do in my answers. Developed during the course of study? Yes. Big yes. Impromptu nahi ho paega diagrams. You'll never have a chance to think right there. You may, but it's better to have it beforehand. Have it while you're making notes and while you're practicing, so that in exams it comes up in your mind automatically. How beautiful! ये तो मतलब this is an evergreen question. Writing कैसे होनी चाहिए या फिर flowcharts और diagrams कैसे होने चाहिए? In my opinion, legible is the word. It should be understandable. अगर मैं वो diagram देखूँ, मुझे उसका intent और उसका cause दोनों समझ आना चाहिए. Scale, other instruments, big no, guys. 7 minutes for a 10 marker, 8 minutes for a 15 marker. This will be extremely difficult. And to what extent? how much ever you can manage. I have seen people really write an answer which is rich with diagrams and flowcharts, and I have seen people writing, myself by the way, writing paragraph and content heavy answers, both fetch marks. So as much as is possible individually. Keep the diagrams and flowcharts as basic and understandable as possible. Complexity doesn't fetch marks. ये content के लिए भी सच है और diagrams के लिए भी. Keep this in mind. This is a very important point. So diagrams. The first point is you're not an artist. In the sense, you're not there to draw complex diagrams. I remember I had a friend in 2016 when she was writing mains. She came up and said GS1 में यार मेरे को पहले question में स्तूपा का diagram बनाने में लग गए थे 7-8 मिनट तो how will I complete my paper? Do not do that. बहुत basic diagrams बनाने हैं just to tell the examiner that you know such basics and you can contribute also via diagrams and also show very clarity of thought that diagrams represent. Time नहीं है, so time को legibility लेके diagrams बनाने हैं. Boxing and titling of the diagram very important. Some people make a diagram, let's say they just let's say my diagram is a smiley and they'll write the content and they'll write the content. There is no separation. So in my idea, in my opinion, box it and title. That really gives a good impression. Again, not impromptu, that is you don't need to formulate diagrams while you are writing answers. In my opinion, it's a little impossible. But while you're making notes or writing answers and practicing, think upon what all diagrams can you make to enrich your answers. ये बहुत ही सिंपल नितिन सिंघानिया में भी दे रखा है. लाइक नागर आर्किटेक्चर है. I've used a pen and nothing else, not even a scale by the way, to make this diagram. बहुत सिंपल है. Raised platform है नागर स्टाइल टेम्पल का. There's a गर्भगृह, there's a शिखरा, there's a मंडपा. किसी को पिलर्स बनाने हैं तो पिलर्स भी बना सकता है इसमें. But do whatever you do to make this look as simple as possible. Box it up and write it down, whatever this is, the title of it. Dravidian architecture, Dravida architecture, maybe this is again a replication of how Nitin Singhania did it, is that there's a Vimana, there's a Garbhagriha, Mandapa, Gopuram. Very simple. There is no protractor, there is no scale, nothing has been used for this. Extremely simplistic understanding that I'm trying to convey to the examiner. Stupa architecture. Now this diagram is extremely complex in all of the books. मैंने इसके सारे आड़े टेढ़े पेज छटा के, by the way this is drawn by me. These are hand drawn by me for this particular session. बहुत ही छत्रास, हर्मिका, डोम, प्रदक्षिणा पथ, तोरण. Very simple. I have drawn this and this did not even take me like, I don't know, less than a minute or two. Not more than that. Very easy. से practice कर लोगे तो आपको और भी कम time लगेगा. I do not sound impossible at all before you guys start judging me. So you can actually draw such simple diagrams in most of your history papers and also if you're dealing with some GS2 topics. अब ये CPSE पे question आया था इस बार. I do not remember exactly, it was GS2, GS3. But I had drawn this diagram to really simply just represent what is CPSE. और क्योंकि इस question में छबाहर का analysis भी था, I drew this as well. Very simple. This is like, I did not even take 30 seconds to draw this. When you keep on practicing simplistic Indian map, I have seen people personally who buy a India map ka stencil. Don't do that. Listen, that's a very estimated boundary of the Indian territory. Do it that way. Now these are some of the diagrams that have come across over a period of time. Like this is an Aadhaar authentication. So what is citizen or the customer, he's availing of a service, it gets registered with the UIDAI or the Aadhaar authentication authority, and when there is a question on snooping or panopticism, which is a totalitarian state, I write about state surveillance. Is it possible? No. Simplistic? Harappan civilization, look how simple diagrams is this. Citadel, main city. Houses, these are 90-degree cut angles for the lanes and by-lanes there. Flowcharts. So diagrams are done, very simplistic, come up with something or the other for your own. I have seen a toposcopy who came up with a diagram of the Nataraja, like a simplified diagram, imagine. So you can also try some of those diagrams out. It really helps to show a different side of you in the answer and also helps you fetch more marks. When it's about flowcharts, there are different kinds. The first is linear. You can show an evolution, you can show a process, you can show categorization, you can show various dimensions. So when you have less time, I'll show you how linear flowcharts are utilized. Now this is the evolution. How सौभाग्य से पहले DDU था, उससे पहले राजीव गांधी ग्राम विद्युतीकरण योजना थी. Simplistically, rather than writing, I've just made a flow chart of it. Industrial Revolution 4.0 में मैंने several challenges of 4.0 को different तरीके से दिखा दिया. I have just used simple arrows and simple lines to actually show several dimensions of this particular thing. There is no effort that's going in. मेरे लिए तो easy है ना. Representation भी हो गया, paragraph भी नहीं लिखना, time भी बच रहा है. Imagine, that's like दोनों हाथ में लड्डू. Categorization for direct tax code. So what you do is when there is a certain concept saying there are 3 possibilities for this, there are 4 possibilities for this, 3 things happen. You can actually do this and use this approach is where you go like this. 1, it will make economy competitive. 2nd, it could change the Indian social contract. 3rd, lower the burden of indirect taxes on the people. This will actually help show your content in a different manner. Again, as I say, adds to the glam of the question and the answer. Showing a causality, an incomplete tax regime leads and administrative discretion leads to corruption. Again, this entire attempt is to, like give a different look and a different approach to answer writing. Another causality, high fuel prices, what all happens if there are high fuel prices and how it impacts economic growth. Economic growth reduce hoti hai, uske liye sirf ek arrow. So please keep such diagrams in mind, और ये बिल्कुल मतलब if you try it very basically they'll all come to your mind. Practice चाहिए थोड़ी सी, impromptu थोड़ा difficult है. Showing various dimensions, this is honor killing का causes. I have really made an attempt to really give a hub and spoke model for this. This is also one way to actually show diagrams at the examination. I could have written this in points, it might fetch the same marks. अब किसी को पता नहीं है कि UPSC uses what grades to give marks. But this also saves time and gives a little better representation. Keep yourself at the place of the examiner and think probably. Showing a process, अभी IBC का process है. How if there are defaults, NCLT, DRT को creditor या borrower approach करता है. There's a committee of creditors who appoints insolvency, resolution professionals. If 75 creditors accept the plan, there's resolution. If not, there's liquidation. Again, very simpler, showing a process, saving time and adding to the glam of the answer. There's also cyclic flowcharts which show cause and effect and show a cyclic process. I'll show you how. So this is also cyclic, flowchart. कि इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ कम हुई, इनकम इन्वेस्टमेंट कम हुई, एडवर्स कॉर्पोरेट बैलेंस शीट हुई, नॉन परफॉर्मिंग एसेट्स बढ़े, एडवर्स बैंक बैलेंस शीट्स हुई, बैंक लेंडिंग जो है वो कम हो गई, उससे क्रेडिट ग्रोथ जो है वो कम हो गई और उससे इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ जो है वो कम हो जाएगी. सो दिस इज अनदर मेथड एंड अनदर वे टू शो अ वेरी सिंपल आर्ग्यूमेंट. Right? I've again stated again and again. Simple arguments को अगर आप flowcharts में डाल सकते हो, there is nothing better than that. And again, recapitalization will revive economy, it will revive private investment, economic growth, and again if we see public investment, it will revive demand and again private investment. All of that lead to revival of economic growth. So this is again a simplistic representation of a process that I have merely stated in the terms of a flowchart. This is a cyclic diagram where I've talked about Skill India key components: connect, correct, create, catalyze, certify. Cyclic, easy to represent, adds to more glam of the answer. So I think that is it for when it comes to flowcharts and diagrams. I would end this again by reminding that I teach Public Administration Paper 2 on Unacademy Plus, where you can use my referral code MINAL to get 10% discount and access all the Plus courses for that amount. As far as the session is concerned, thank you all for joining.